Welcome to this first episode of the no-beat course. In this level 1, we will start with the very foundation of the no-beat technique all the way to the 3-point no-beat cascade, backward. This first episode is available for free, but if you want to support my work, please consider joining my Patreon page. The no-beat technique requires a certain amount of momentum control and overall experience with poi juggling, so make sure to also practice the easier patterns such as the wall-playing cascade or the pendulum cascade in parallel to learning the no-beat cascade. Alright, let's start practicing wheel-playing no-beat foundations with 1 poi. In this first exercise, I want you to spin in a very specific way. As you can see, I am going up, doing an half circle with my forearm, and then I go straight down, engaging the wrist to do so. This exact motion is the motion you're going to do every time you do a no-beat throw in wheel playing. Practice the spinning technique backward same time with 2 poi and backward split time. In the next step, we keep the exact same spinning technique, but we're going to pass the poi from hand to hand. The empty hand is waiting next to its shoulder and shall not go towards the poi. It's really the poi that goes to the hand. Also, do not forget to go straight down as soon as you catch the poi. Next, we are going to make it a little bit harder by bringing the empty hand a little bit further back. So now it's waiting almost behind the shoulder. You might feel like you don't have enough momentum in the poi to get all the way to the empty hand. To do so, you need to go all the way down every time to be able to accumulate that momentum to go that far. Be careful to not accidentally cheat by twisting your torso from side to side like I'm showing on the video here. Bend the knees slightly to make your body more stable. If this exercise is done correctly, it should really feel like a gentle pass from hand to hand. Do not put any added force. It should really be the momentum accumulated in the downswing doing the work. Using this exact technique, we are now ready to start throwing by simply releasing the poi a bit earlier, around 2 p.m. Notice how, despite the early release, the shape doesn't change. The poi goes all the way back to the hand that's waiting next to the shoulder. As I open my hand for the release, I will let the handle slide through, but careful, do not let it slide forward as it gets out of your fingertips. As it gets out of the fingertips, it should go backward. This sliding technique will be very useful at the beginning of your training to be able to palliate for the lack of momentum in the poi. But as you get better at building up momentum with the downswing, you won't need to slide that much and it will just be a simple opening of your hand. The next step in your practice will be to go for slightly higher throws than you would need for the 3-poi cascade. So that means just high enough that you need to look up to be able to see the top of the throw. Going higher means more momentum, so you need to go all the way down. When practicing no-beats, make sure that the poi is always as close as possible to your chest. When you go up for the throw, your hand should be drawing the line of your torso. Here is an exercise to help you do this exact thing. We are going to take a poi and hold it by the head right in front of our mouth the whole time as you keep throwing the red poi. Try to get the opening of your hand to release the red poi and the first contact between the white head and your palm to be almost at the same time. For the next drill, we go back to 1 poi and keep doing the usual throws, but we are going to try to go even further, which means that I'm gonna make sure that my palm touches my opposite shoulder or collarbone before the handle leaves my fingertips. In this exercise, we go too far on purpose to make it so that going just far enough later on with the cascade will be super easy. That also means that the catch should be pretty much blind. Now let's take a look at the technique for wall-playing no-beats. The throw is similar, but the technique is different. Here we are doing a circular shape. Practicing this different method, which is actually the foundation for another no-beat pattern that we will see later in this course, is very beneficial because it will help you understand momentum preservation in a different manner. With this technique, I will aim for a perfect circle with my hands around my elbow, and I will release a little bit before the vertical point and catch on my side with an horizontal forearm. This new arm movement is only possible because we are facing wall plane in this pattern. The wheel plane cascade does not allow this because we don't have enough mobility to go all the way back and draw a full circle with our hand. When you practice this circular wall plane no-beat, make sure that the plane is as flat as possible. You should be able to face in front of a wall and it would not collide with the wall. It is very easy to do a small conic motion. Avoid that. Another thing to avoid is letting the handle isolate in the space, like I'm showing here on the screen. Try to get the handle to also draw a circle. Practice this technique with both hands using a split time butterfly pattern. Here again, do not let the handle isolate. Try to get them to also draw a circle the whole time. Another pattern I recommend learning with this technique is the semi-active windmill. It is a 2-poi equivalent of the windmill pattern, but with only one poi being thrown, the other one is just being spun. In this pattern, just keep the throw the way we worked on it and superimpose a spin on top of it. This will naturally get the underarm going. The spin should be a forearm spin with the elbow fairly isolated. Do not go further than this. Keep the circle created by the handles centered in front of you and avoid lifting one shoulder up. Also try to keep engaging the forearms as much as possible and avoid using the wrists only, which will create a smaller pattern. Using pendulums, you can change the direction to be able to work on both sides of the pattern, both the left hand throwing and the right hand throwing. A fun variation to make it a little harder is the active 2-poi windmill, which means that the spun poi will also become a throw. Here, since this throw is going from the outside to the inside, we are catching overhand. The pattern should overall feel the same, you just have this extra release with the other poi. The next exercise, going back to the semi-active windmill, is to throw a little higher with the underarm throw to add an extra wrist spin with the other poi under that higher throw. To be able to get the throw to go higher, we are doing less of a circle and going a bit more straight down, a bit closer to what we were doing with the first no-beat technique that we learned for the wheel plane position. All of these windmill exercises are just to prepare you to be able to start practicing the 2-poi one-hand pattern as fast as possible, because this pattern is really the key to make your progress with the 3-poi cascade faster and better. Enough foundation, now let's go for the 3-poi no-beat cascade tutorial. Starting with the most important drill called the 3-1-2. It is very similar to the drill we did holding the head of the poi in front of our mouth, except that poi is now being spun and swapped from hand to hand during the spin. Here is the same pathway with 2 balls to help you visualize it. The red ball is always being thrown from hand to hand, whilst the white ball is either waiting or being passed to the other hand. First, just practice the 3 with a poi and do the 1-2 with a white ball. Next, let's swap for a poi during the 1-2 and use a ball for the 3. The poi is doing an extra spin on each side in addition to the spin used to pass from hand to hand. Now you can complete the pattern with both boy by putting everything together. A classic mistake with this pattern is forgetting the 2, the extra spin of the white boy on each side, which will give you this almost same time gallop timing. Make sure to keep it asynchronous by adding the 2 on each side. An optional variation of the pattern is its asymmetrical variation, which is the shower pattern with 2 poi, 3, 1. This pattern is a little bit easier, so you can take advantage of it to throw a little bit higher. This is a no-bid throw with a fairly high crossing point. But what does that mean? In comparison, here is a no-bid throw with a low crossing point. To understand the difference, let's look at it with one ball instead of a poi. Here is a high crossing point again, but with a ball. You can notice that 90 to 100% of the way up of the throw until the apex of the throw is happening on the native side. Now we switch to a very low crossing point. Here, the way up of the throw is happening on the non-native side, as well as the way down. A medium crossing point would be 50-50. Some of the way up would be on the native side, and it would keep going up on the non-native side. Now, in practice, how do we affect the crossing point? It's all about the pathway of your hand. For a low crossing point, I am going to scoop in, so I'm going to drag the ball to the non-native side before I throw it. For a high crossing point, I will not scoop, I will just go straight up. For the no-bid cascade, I highly recommend a high crossing point, which means that your hand is going up and down with very little scooping inward. A no-bid cascade with low crossing point is possible, but much harder to control and also will be a very difficult foundation to access tricks down the line. A low crossing point will create a sideways movement with the handle, so the handle will move independently from the pathway of the head, creating some sort of helicopter throw. With a high crossing point, the head should land behind you, almost towards the outside of the handle, versus with a low crossing point, the head will land inwards, almost colliding with your shoulder. Now that we understand what a high crossing point means, let's get back to practice using the 3-3-0 pattern with 2 objects. Here it is with balls. It is simply like a 3-object cascade, but we have 1 object missing. With boy, start by spinning using the technique we learned in the wheel plane foundations, and also give it a slight diagonal plane. Then practice 2 throws in a row, starting from the right hand and then starting from the left hand. At the start, add extra spins to take a break between each set of throws. Then you will be able to keep it going without adding extra spins, following the 3-3-0 pattern. Focus on keeping the timing right. Make sure that when one poi is all the way up, the other one is pointing down. A classic mistake is to not go all the way down equally on both sides, and therefore you will offset the timing into some sort of gallop timing. The next step is to learn how to release 2 poi from one hand. This is the grip I use. You have an index side and a pinky side. The poi on the pinky side always goes first, and then the index side is the second throw after adjusting the grip. Before practicing the release, most of your practice will consist of simply doing a pendulum using the forearm in the front and the entirety of your arm on the back, and making sure that the elbow stays isolated under the shoulder when you are swinging forward. This pendulum will ensure that you have enough momentum to be able to release the pinky, swing, and then release the index. This pendulum takes a bit of practice to get in your muscle memory, so first practice it with 1 poi instead of 2 in one hand. The reason why this is so important is because we want to maintain what I call the stack. The stack is the grouping of both heads, here the red and the white. They should always be together and forming a line going forward. A very efficient way to practice the stacking is to use 4-poi. That way you do both hands at the same time and you try to make sure that the heads do not move around too much. So from the start, we pendulum front, pendulum to the back, go back to the front, lock the elbow under the shoulder, pinky throw, go all the way down with the index before we throw it. Whilst you throw the pinky, the swing of the index should go pretty close to your ear, and that's normal. A good exercise is connecting the 2-poi one-hand release straight into the 3-3-0 pattern. You are now ready to pick up a third poi and attempt your first flash, 3 throws and catches. We will once again look at the pendulums first. There is a specific timing you have to follow. To get the timing right, imagine that both pendulums want to be together at the same time, but one side is always dragging a bit too late, which means that they are following each other. Practice the timing with 2-poi, then go back to 3-poi. On top of respecting this timing, make sure that your body is stable and doesn't rock back and forth. Stand straight the whole time. I think this first method is the best, but it is also possible to start with same time together pendulum. With this technique, to be able to have the right timing, as you release the first poi, the other hand that has 1 poi will complete 1 spin first before throwing the second throw. Try both methods and find which one is best for you. From there, whichever method you use, practice starting with your right hand and starting with your left hand. As you practice those flashes from the right hand and the left hand, remember all of the foundations we worked on earlier in the tutorial. Try to keep the pattern as close as possible to your chest, go all the way down before you throw, and also try to get a high crossing point on your throws. That way you'll be able to slowly step up from the flash all the way to longer runs of 3-poi no-beat cascade. Now let's look at some common mistakes whilst practicing the 3-poi no-beat cascade. The first mistake is forgetting to go all the way down after catching, which means that you have a pattern based a lot on wrist movement and not so much on forearm movement. To get a smooth pattern, imagine that you want to touch the floor with the head of each poi on the downswing. The next mistake is having the pattern too far away from yourself. Keep the pattern as close as possible to your chest, that way you'll have the most momentum potential. From the side, it should look like you are in the pattern, not in front of it. Another common problem is the poi overspinning. This is probably because you're using your wrists and fingers on the point of release. You're adding unnecessary movement. Really just try to open your hands and not add anything else. The next mistake is to shuffle your elbows back and forth from front to back. Make sure to keep your elbows right under your shoulders as far back as possible. The next mistake is forgetting the pendulums or forgetting to do big enough pendulums before you start. This will make the pattern very difficult to get started. Make sure to always have big pendulum before you start. Another problem is the pathway of the handles going a bit wild to the side, creating some sort of helicopter, if it makes sense. This is probably because your crossing point is too low. Make sure to start right away with a high crossing point and to maintain this high crossing point. The pattern should look more narrow. Another mistake to avoid is accelerating on the way forward from the pendulum. Try to keep the same speed the whole time, from the start of the pendulums until the release. If the throws are inconsistent and wobbly, it is very possible that you're catching too far into the tether. Make sure to always catch with your pinky finger straight up next to the handle. You ideally should not have to slide along the rope during the downswing. Last mistake, but one of the most common, and you might even not realize it, is having a low crossing point just on one side. Here you can see my right hand throws, the handle is drifting sideways the whole time. That means that my right hand is scooping in too much. To fix this problem and get a symmetrical pattern with the same crossing point on both sides, I use the turning method. By practicing turning 180 degrees very slowly in one direction and then 180 degrees again in the other direction whilst turning the cascade, you will learn to alter the crossing points asymmetrically on one side and then asymmetrically on the other side. This will help you to have a better control over the crossing point when you're not turning. It is the end of this first episode of the No Beat course. If you want to see the rest of the course, please consider purchasing it on my Patreon. The link is down below in the description. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.